I brought dinner to the table. It was a simple end-of-the-month meal with salad, chicken soup, and one grilled chicken breast cut into 4 portions. Everything was bought from weekend discounts. I had planned each item carefully, just enough for everyone. Not too much, not too little. The kitchen in our rental apartment was barely big enough to turn around in, but I always tried to keep it clean and tidy. Barbara, my mother-in-law, pulled out a chair and sat down. She looked over the food and sighed heavily. She didn't have to say anything. The way she frowned made it perfectly clear she thought I should feel bad. "We've been eating chicken and salad all week. Sarah, can't you make something a little better?" When my ex-husband was still teaching, we had steak for dinner, sometimes lobster. At the very least, Italian food. This is just sad. I kept my voice calm, though I was fuming inside. I spoke slowly, trying to keep control of what I really wanted to say. "Mom, this is all we have left for food this month. I've already calculated everything carefully." Before I could finish, Chloe, my sister-in-law, jumped in. She poked at her salad with a face like she was being punished. "This is so boring. I've been craving sushi from that Japanese place for ages. You're a department manager, but you never treat us. Why are you so stingy?" I turned to her and looked her straight in the eye. "If you want sushi so badly, maybe get a job and pay for it yourself? I make $6,500 a month and I'm feeding 4 people. And you think you deserve sushi?" Mark immediately jumped in like he had been waiting for me to say something. "Sarah, come on. Chloe's still young. If she wants something, we should try to make her happy. You're her sister-in-law." I turned to my husband, my voice cold and sharp. "And what about you? You make $8,000 a month? Have you contributed anything to this meal? Or did you give it all to your mom again, using the excuse that we're saving for a house?" Barbara slammed her hand on the table. The sharp sound echoed through the room, making the other 3 of us freeze for a moment. "It's my son's money, and I have every right to hold on to it. You 2 are still young and reckless. Saving that money to buy a house in the future? What's wrong with that? You're always obsessed with expenses and budgeting. Honestly, I don't think you know how to manage money at all. That's why this whole family is stuck eating like this." I stayed silent. No response, no argument. Not because I had nothing to say, but because I could feel the anger rising in my throat. If I said even one more word, I might not be able to stop. No one said anything after that. The only sound left was the faint clinking of spoons against plates. A dry, metallic echo that filled the small kitchen. Cold and heavy. It was the weekend, and I was wiping down the coffee table when I heard the front door open, followed by hurried footsteps echoing from the hallway. Barbara and Chloe were back from their shopping trip. Both of them walked in carrying armfuls of shopping bags from Macy's, Nordstrom, and a few high-end brands I'd only ever glanced at through store windows, never daring to walk inside. Chloe came in first, holding up a nude-colored handbag with shiny gold lettering. She turned to me with the excitement of a child showing off a birthday gift. "Sarah, look at my new Michael Kors bag. Mom got it for me. Isn't it cute?" Before I could say a word, Barbara walked in right behind her. Her lips were painted bright red, and her hair looked freshly styled like she had just stepped out of a salon. She proudly held up a glossy leather wallet and spoke with the air of someone deeply satisfied with herself. "She's young. Of course she should dress well. Look at this. My new designer wallet. When you have money, you should enjoy life. What's the point of living if you're just going to suffer and deprive yourself like you do?" I looked at the wallet in her hand, and my chest burned. The leather was smooth, the stitching flawless. I could tell it was the real thing. I also knew exactly how much something like that would cost. I tried to stay calm, but the bitterness still crept into my voice. "You're right, Mom. If you have money, you should enjoy it. But I wonder, where did that money come from? Was it from my salary? Or maybe from the house savings account Mark's been building? Barbara's expression changed in an instant. She straightened up, her shoulders pulled back like I'd just insulted her honor. How dare you accuse me like that? This is from my own savings. You have no right to question me. I let out a soft laugh, even though there was nothing funny about any of it. I spoke slowly, making sure every word landed with weight. You're right. It's your money. I wouldn't dare question that. It's just that every month, I have to stretch every dollar to make sure this whole household is fed. Meanwhile, you and Chloe seem to have something new and designer every single month. So I can't help but wonder about that house you keep saying we're saving for. I wonder if we'll ever actually see it? I didn't wait for a reply. I turned and walked back to my room. Behind me, I could still hear the low murmuring of voices. But this time, I didn't care what they were saying. The only thing I could hear clearly was the rush of blood pounding in my ears. It was the start of a new month, and I was sitting alone in my bedroom. Lying on the bed in front of me was my expense journal, the one I had kept for the past 2 years. The cover was worn, the pages soft and faded at the edges, but inside, every number stood as quiet evidence of how I had been living in this house. I turned the pages slowly, notes in red and black ink, each expense recorded carefully by date and category. I stopped at the first entry for the month and read it again. Received paycheck, $6,500. Rent, $1,500. Utilities, internet, gas, and insurance added up to nearly $800. Groceries for 4 people, thanks to Barbara and Chloe's preferences, came to no less than $1,200. Gas and car maintenance took another $300. That left me with $700 for everything else. That money had to cover Barbara's endless requests for supplements, Chloe's spontaneous cravings for takeout, and any unexpected situations that might come up without warning. I stopped for a while and put my pen down. My eyes lingered on the blank space at the bottom of the page. The silence inside me was heavy. Then a question rose in my mind, simple but sharp. What about money for myself? There was none. Not even enough for a new dress. Even grabbing coffee with friends felt like a decision I had to weigh. I was 30 years old with a steady job, yet somehow I was living poorer than I did as a student. I leaned back and stared at the ceiling. That promise we kept repeating about saving up for a house had always sounded like something sacred. Mark and his mother spoke of it with the same seriousness, month after month, for the past 2 years. But now I was starting to question who that promise was really for. Was it ever truly about building a home for us? Or was it just a convenient excuse to keep using my income without question or guilt? I closed the journal and held it tightly in both hands. My nails dug into the skin of my palm until it stung. But even that pain was nothing compared to the quiet humiliation I had been swallowing every single day. I knew then my breaking point wasn't far. And when it came, it wouldn't be silent. Friday night, I sat alone in the kitchen. No lights on, no dinner cooking. In front of me was an empty wallet and my expense journal, now closed and locked. Every line I had written inside that book echoed in my head, reminding me just how much I had swallowed and sacrificed to maintain something called stability in a house where no one respected what I brought to the table. The kitchen felt cold. There was no smell of food, no sound of water boiling, no sign at all that dinner would be happening. I just sat there and waited, not for anyone to come home and eat, but for the reaction, and it came right on schedule. I heard the key turn in the lock. The door opened. Mark walked in. Same tired look he always had after teaching, but this time there was no warm smell from the kitchen to greet him. "Sarah, why is it so dark in here? You didn't make dinner?" He kicked off his shoes as he spoke, his voice a little confused and more than a little worn out. "I'm starving. I had back-to-back lectures today. 6 hours straight. Teaching, student meetings, and writing up reports for the board. You know how stressful things are at the university." I looked up at him, a faint half-smile crossing my face. "Oh, sweetheart, no dinner tonight." Mark frowned. He froze for a second, then his tone shifted into something sharper, more irritated. "No dinner? What are we supposed to eat then? Mom and Chloe are probably hungry too." "What are you doing? Is this supposed to be a joke?" I shrugged, calm and detached. "Well, if there's no money, I guess we go hungry. Or you could go out and buy something. With your own money, of course." Mark stared at me like I'd just said something outrageous. "Have you lost your mind? That money is for the house. You know that. You've got a salary, don't you? Why aren't you paying for things? You're being selfish. I work all day, push myself for our future, and then I come home to nothing. What do you think I am?" I stood up suddenly, my eyes locked on his, and my voice carried none of the patience I had forced for so long. "Selfish. You're calling me selfish? I bring in $6,500 a month and support 4 people with it. I cover everything. Rent, utilities, insurance, even down to every single spice in that kitchen cabinet. And what about you? You earn $8,000 a month, yet not a single dollar goes toward this household. Every cent turns into designer handbags for your mother and luxury dresses for your sister. Meanwhile, I'm the one stretching every penny, trying to make it work. And you have the nerve to call me selfish?" Mark's face turned red. He stammered, scrambling for an excuse. "You just don't understand. This is a long-term plan. It's part of the financial strategy my mom helped me come up with. We have to save now, so we can afford a house in the future. You're too focused on the short term to see the bigger picture." I stepped closer. Every word hit like a slap across the face. "That long-term plan you keep talking about? Does it include your mom's new Louis Vuitton bag from last week? Or Chloe's little vacation to Miami that she paid for using a credit card under my name? Is the goal of this strategy to burn through everything I've worked for? Or is it to turn me into a money machine for your entire family?" Mark went quiet. His face turned pale, and for a second, I thought he had nothing more to say. But I was wrong. Suddenly, he pulled out his phone, dialed a number, and switched it to speaker. His voice shook, but he still tried to sound like the victim. "Mom, can you come downstairs, please? Sarah's refusing to cook. She's yelling and demanding money. She's making a scene in the kitchen. I told you, you have to do something." I stood still, watching the same scene play out again. Backed into a corner, he always called for his mother, always used her like a shield. But this time, I wasn't going to stand there waiting to be blamed. Footsteps came rushing down the hallway. Before I could even turn around, the kitchen door swung open. Barbara stormed in, her face flushed red, eyes burning with fury. "Sarah, are you out of your mind? How dare you not make dinner for your husband? Mark comes home exhausted after work, and you leave him hungry? You're useless. Just because you bring home a paycheck, you think that gives you the right to act like you run this house?" Chloe followed right behind her, planting herself next to her mother as if the whole thing had been rehearsed. Her voice rang out, shrill and sharp. "Who exactly do you think you're pulling this little strike on? Mark supports the whole household, and this is what he comes home to? You're hopeless. You don't deserve to be his wife at all." I remained where I was, standing in the middle of the kitchen with my arms crossed. My voice wasn't loud, wasn't angry, but every word came out cold and steady. "I already said it. No money, No food? It's that simple. Barbara stepped forward, pointing a finger straight at my face like I had just committed a crime. Money. You always use money to threaten people. You act like you're some big shot just because you make $6,500 a month. That's nothing. You're cheap. A real woman knows how to sacrifice for her family. Chloe folded her arms and curled her lip, her voice full of disdain. You're selfish. Everything is always about you. Mark, you see this, right? She clearly doesn't love you at all. Mark was still standing near the doorway, like he was waiting for his cue to play the victim. Hearing his mother and sister come to his defense, he finally stepped further into the kitchen, his voice louder and more confident. You've really crossed the line. Mom and Chloe are right. Look at other wives. They work too, and you don't see them complaining like this. You're so petty. I stared straight into his eyes. For a moment, silence filled the kitchen. Then I gave a dry laugh. Not because anything was funny, but because I was tired. Other wives. You're probably thinking of Jessica, aren't you? That pretty influencer you once wanted to marry. The one who had it all together. Barbara cut in sharply, her voice filled with contempt. That's right. At least Jessica had some respect. She knew how to treat her mother-in-law properly. Not like you, always talking back and arguing. Chloe jumped in without hesitation. Jessica bought her own house, her own car. And you? What do you even have besides obsessing over every single dollar? I slowly stepped closer, my eyes fixed on Chloe's face. My voice was steady and calm. Bought her own car, huh? Chloe, are you talking about the white 2023 Honda Civic you've been driving around every day? Silence fell over the room. Chloe's expression shifted, her face drained of color. Barbara stood frozen, not saying a word. I took another step forward. My voice turned colder, laced with quiet sarcasm. The same car your mother bought using my credit card. The one she used to withdraw $35,000 without asking me. She promised she'd pay it back. But up to now, I haven't seen a single cent. Barbara flinched like she'd been caught off guard. She tried to push back, her words stumbling out. You were tracking my spending? I pulled my phone from my pocket and looked her straight in the eye. No need to track anything. I just reviewed my card statements. There was a massive cash withdrawal followed by a car purchase receipt. I stayed quiet because I thought we were family. But now I realize I was wrong. I raised the phone slightly, letting the glow from the screen light up her face. I spoke slowly, every word deliberate. Would you like me to show you the proof? Every transaction, every receipt. It's all here. What exactly do you plan to deny? Barbara began to tremble. Her face turned red, nearly purple. Then she screamed, as if yelling was the only thing she had left. You're insane. I'm the mother-in-law. I have the right to use my children's money. You're the daughter-in-law. Contributing to the family is your responsibility. Chloe rushed forward, wrapping an arm around her mother and pointing at me. You're heartless. Look at what you've done. She's shaking, and you just stand there. Aren't you even afraid of being ungrateful? Don't you feel any guilt at all? I let out a short laugh. Not loud, but sharp enough to send a fresh wave of tension through the room. Ungrateful? I'm not her child. And the money we're talking about wasn't handed to me out of pity. I earned every cent of it. Chloe, if you really care about your mother, then go make your own money and support her. Stop letting her sneak around, stealing from her daughter-in-law behind everyone's back. Mark finally spoke up, his tone full of disappointment, though his face showed not a trace of shame. Sarah, I can't believe you. What are you doing, talking to my mother like this? She's still an elder, no matter what. I turned to look at him. In that moment, My eyes could see straight through every layer of cowardice in his words. And you just stood there while your mother and sister tore into your wife, and now you tell me I'm the one out of line. Do you even realize I've been carrying all the household expenses alone for the past 6 months? Do you know how many times I had to say no to meeting friends because I simply couldn't afford it? Chloe cut in again, louder this time. That's your duty. Women are supposed to sacrifice. I turned to her, my gaze ice cold. Sacrifice so you can have a new car? Sacrifice so you can sit at home doing nothing while I work 12-hour days? Do you even know what shame feels like? Barbara suddenly changed her tone. Her voice softened, pretending to be gentle. She stepped closer, speaking more quietly than before. Come on, Sarah. We're family. If it's about money, we can sit down and talk it out. There's no need to blow things out of proportion like this. I didn't answer right away. I looked at each of them, one by one, then spoke slowly. Now you remember we're family? Where was this so-called family when I was struggling with the bills? When I had to plan every meal down to the last dollar? Where was this sense of unity when you two were out shopping for designer bags like money meant nothing? Mark stepped forward again, trying to keep his voice calm. Let's all just sit down and talk. There's no need to argue like this. No, I raised my voice. That's enough. I've stayed silent for far too long. Today, either your mother pays me back the $35,000, or I'm going to see a lawyer. And Mark, if you still care about this marriage, then you need to take back control of your own finances. Chloe screamed, her voice shaking with fury. Are you threatening our family? This isn't a threat, I said, my tone low and steady. It's a warning. I'm giving you 24 hours to decide. As for now, I'm leaving. I turned and walked away. No one stopped me. No one dared say a word. The only sound left was my own footsteps echoing through a house that now felt suffocating with silence. Behind me, Barbara's voice rang out in a desperate cry. You see now, my son? You see what kind of woman she really is? Chloe's sobs broke through next, loud and jarring, like the final knock of a door I was about to close for good. But I didn't look back. Not because I didn't care, but because for the first time, I had finally said everything that needed to be said. I sat on the old wooden bed in my childhood room. The pale blue floral curtains were still there. The old study desk had faded with time, but it was spotless, carefully wiped clean by my mother, as if no one had ever left. Afternoon sunlight poured gently through the window, casting a warm glow across the corner of the room, making everything feel strangely peaceful. No more shouting, no more contemptuous stares, just quiet, and the relief of finally being able to breathe after so many suffocating months. I told my parents everything. I left nothing out. Every word I spoke felt like I was releasing years of pain I had swallowed in silence. My mother sat beside me, holding me tightly. Her hands trembled slightly, and her chest rose and fell with every quiet sob. She didn't speak at first. She just held on like letting go would make me disappear again. When I finally stopped talking, she spoke in a broken voice. My poor girl. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Why did you carry all of that by yourself? It breaks my heart to know how much you've been through. I leaned my head against her shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of her shampoo. It hadn't changed since I was little. A tear slipped down my cheek, but this time it wasn't from pain. It was because, for the first time in a long while, I felt safe. My father was different. He sat quietly in the wooden chair by the window, silent from the moment I began speaking. His eyes were red, his hands clenched tightly as if trying to crush something invisible. When my mother finished speaking, he finally broke his silence. His voice wasn't loud, but each word was firm and heavy with restrained anger. That family has no sense of decency. Money should be handled clearly and fairly. If you earn it, you manage it. What they did to you was plain exploitation. Stay here. Your mother and I will take care of you. I wiped my tears and sat up straight. My voice no longer shook. I looked my parents in the eyes and spoke clearly. Thank you, both of you. But I can't stay silent anymore. I have to fight for what's right. I stood up, walked over to my old desk, and picked up my phone. Everything in my mind felt clear. This wasn't anger anymore. This was the calm of someone who had finally had enough and knew exactly what needed to be done. I opened the group chat with Mark, Barbara, and Chloe. My fingers typed out each word with steady focus. I have 2 demands. First, Mark must take full control of his own finances, and from now on, we split all household expenses 50-50. Second, his mother, Barbara, must return the $35,000 she used to buy the car, including interest. If both conditions are not met within 24 hours, I will not return, and I will make all the evidence public. I hit send. The message was marked as read in less than a minute, but I didn't care what they thought anymore. There was no fear, no hesitation. I walked back to where my mother was sitting and took the glass of water she had poured for me. For the first time in months, I felt truly protected. I didn't know how they would react, but this time, I wouldn't back down. What I hadn't expected was how quickly the storm would hit. Back in the house, where I had lived for 3 long years, phones began ringing nonstop. The group message had been read almost immediately. Barbara held her phone in her hand, eyes wide, lips trembling. Her face turned from pale to flushed in a matter of seconds. Oh my God! That girl's completely lost her mind. She's threatening our whole family. Her scream echoed through the living room. Chloe snatched the phone from her mother's hand, eyes darting across the screen in panic as she read. She even included the car payment receipt. Mom, what are we going to do? If my friends find out about this, I'm dead. Mark had been slumped back on the sofa, sulking quietly. But when he heard the part about going public with evidence, his expression changed instantly. He jumped to his feet, his voice low and furious. She dares? I'm calling her right now. Mark dialed my number and put the call on speaker. The whole family leaned in close, tension written all over their faces. The phone rang 3 times before I picked up. Mark's voice came through first, sharp and angry. Sarah, are you threatening my family? Get back here now. I replied calmly, without the slightest hesitation. I already stated my conditions. His voice cracked, rising louder. You're insane. Come home. We need to talk. There's nothing left to talk about. I ended the call. I didn't give him a chance to drag the conversation out. For the first time in years, I was the one to hang up. Barbara snatched the phone from her son's hand and immediately redialed, her fingers trembling with rage. The second the line connected, there was no pretending, no small talk. Her voice came through venomous. You think you're somebody now? You dare threaten me? Go ahead, make your little scene. See what happens. I held the phone to my ear, my tone still calm. Sure. Let's go public. Let the whole world see who you really are. Barbara couldn't hold back anymore. She screamed into the phone, each word meant to wound. You think you're so special? You ungrateful brat. Is this what your parents taught you? Raised a daughter with no manners, no respect, absolute trash. The air in the room around me went still, frozen. I let a few seconds pass, just to be sure I wouldn't speak out of pure anger. Then I responded, every word sharp and controlled. "What did you just say about my parents?" Barbara's voice didn't drop. If anything, she doubled down, her tone smug and cruel, like she'd finally found a way to cut deep. "I said your parents clearly failed to raise you right. They brought up a rude, disrespectful daughter who doesn't know her place. That's what kind of family you come from." I closed my eyes for a moment. Not because I was hurt, but to extinguish the fire building in my chest. When I opened them again, I was clear-headed, and my voice sounded different, colder, firmer than ever before. "That's it. I gave you all a chance. Not only did you refuse to take responsibility, but now you've insulted my parents. This is the end. I want a divorce. Get the paperwork ready." I hung up the phone. In that moment, I didn't feel relieved. I didn't feel hurt either. What I felt was a strange and quiet stillness, resting deep inside me. That night, there was no wind. The air felt thick, like something heavy was hanging over it, warning of what was coming. I sat alone in the living room. My parents had gone to bed early, but I couldn't sleep. The last message had been sent hours ago, and there was still no reply. That silence was strange. The quiet from that household had never been a good sign. Around 10 o'clock, headlights from a car suddenly lit up the front gate. I walked to the window and looked outside. A familiar gray car had pulled up in front of my parents' house. The door opened, and Barbara stepped out first, holding a plastic bucket. Chloe and Mark followed behind her, each carrying a small container. Before I could fully process what was happening, the shouting began, shattering the quiet of the night. "You ungrateful little brat. You think running back here makes you safe?" It was Barbara, her voice sharp and filled with rage. Chloe followed with a scream that cut even deeper. "You whore." I opened the front door and stepped out onto the porch. They were already at it. Thick red paint, as bright as fresh blood, had been thrown across the iron gate and was now dripping onto the walls of the house. Barbara's voice cut through the night, loud and full of spite. Raised by animals, no class at all. I didn't respond. Instead, I held my phone up, the camera already recording. My voice came out steady, clear, like I was speaking in court. "Go ahead. I'm recording everything for the police." Barbara froze. Chloe looked up at me. For a moment, both their faces turned pale. Then, right on cue, sirens wailed from the end of the street. 2 police cars came to a stop directly in front of the house. The red and blue lights spun wildly, reflecting off the wet streaks of paint on the gate. Barbara and Chloe panicked. They dropped their buckets and stumbled back toward the car, clearly trying to get away. A young officer stepped out, drawing his sidearm and raising one hand to signal them to stop. "Stay right there. You are under investigation for vandalism and harassment." Mark stood frozen like a statue. Chloe burst into tears. Barbara stammered, trying to speak, but no words came out. I stepped forward, phone still in hand, and spoke to the officer approaching me. "Officer, I have full video evidence along with earlier messages containing threats. I want to press charges against these individuals." Barbara finally found her voice. Her words trembled, scattered, like someone no longer in control. We just came to talk, that's all." But it was already too late. 2 more officers approached, ordering them out of the car and escorting them to the police vehicle to be taken in for questioning. I stood there and watched as they were led away. I didn't feel satisfied. I didn't feel hurt either. Just a strange emptiness, like the weight I had carried for so long was finally being lifted off my chest. I turned back toward the house. The gate was stained with red paint. The wall was a mess. But for the first time, I knew something had changed. This was the beginning of the consequences they would finally have to face, and I was ready to see it through. I never thought they would go that far. But I had underestimated the kind of hatred that grows in people who feel threatened by a woman choosing to stand up and reclaim her own life. Somewhere in a dark living room in Ohio, Barbara sat in front of a laptop screen, her face bathed in cold blue light, twisted with rage. Chloe sat beside her, arms crossed, eyes locked on Barbara's Facebook page. Her voice was sharp and poisonous, pushing her mother forward with every word. "Post it, Mom. Let the world see who she really is. She humiliated our family. We need to ruin her name before she ruins us." Barbara nodded, lips pressed tight. Her fingers slammed down on the keyboard like she was pouring all her anger into each key. "She threatened me. She left, and now she wants a divorce? Fine. I'll write something that will make sure she never shows her face again." I wasn't there, of course. But Chloe had secretly snapped a photo of me while I was talking to David, a male colleague, during a meeting at a cafe the week before. The photo was cropped tightly around our faces, making it look far more intimate than it really was. Within 10 minutes, the post was live on Barbara's public page. The headline screamed for attention, written to strike like a slap across the face. "Ungrateful daughter-in-law abandons her family to chase another man." Below it was a long paragraph packed with lies and malicious twists. Barbara wrote that she had loved me like her own daughter, that I was an office manager who spent all day shopping and pampering myself, that I drained her son's bank account, neglected the family, and was now cheating with a coworker. And to top it all off, I was threatening to sue them just to take more money. At the bottom of the post was the photo of me with David. Chloe had added a mocking caption beneath it. "While her husband lies at home sick, the wife enjoys a cozy coffee date with another man." Within just a few hours, the post went viral. Hundreds, then thousands of shares. Angry comments poured in like a flood. "You can tell just by her face she's no good. This is how an office manager behaves? She should be fired. Poor mother-in-law. Praying for her. Post her full name and where she works. People need to stay away from her." The next day, I went to work like usual, but the moment I stepped into the office, I could feel the difference. A few coworkers avoided eye contact. Others suddenly became very busy, pretending not to see me. One intern glanced at me and whispered something to her friend, then both of them laughed under their breath. By mid-morning, I received an email from upper management asking me to come to the conference room. When I walked in, my supervisor was already there, waiting with a serious look on his face. He handed me a printed copy of Barbara's post, along with the photo and a handful of harsh comments from real, named accounts. I looked at it all in silence. My supervisor set the papers down and spoke clearly. "I don't know what's going on in your personal life, but this is a workplace. Reputation matters here. You need to resolve this before it starts affecting the team." I didn't argue. I nodded and left the room. Out in the hallway, I passed a woman I didn't recognize. She was waiting for the elevator, glanced at me, and curled her lip. "So this is what that kind of woman looks like?" I didn't respond. I walked right past her. Just before the elevator doors closed, I heard her mutter to the person next to her. "It's all online now. There's no hiding anything anymore." I returned to my desk. I wasn't afraid. But the humiliation sat heavy in my chest like a stone. And I knew one thing for sure. If I stayed silent, they would keep going. If I didn't fight back, I would lose everything. My job, my name, even my right to be defended. It was time to strike back. I sat in a brown leather chair inside the office of attorney Emily Reed. The space was quiet, elegant, and discreet. On the polished teak desk in front of her, a MacBook sat open with Barbara's post on full display. The bold headline stood out clearly, and just beneath it was the photo of me and David. My stomach tightened every time I looked at it. Attorney Reed looked up. Her expression was calm, but her eyes were sharp. When she spoke, her voice was firm and measured, each word landing like a brick building the foundation of reason. "Sarah, I know this is upsetting, but take a deep breath. What she posted is a textbook case of defamation. It is a serious violation of the law. We have a solid file of evidence that supports a strong lawsuit." I didn't respond right away. I kept staring at the screen for a moment, then turned to her and gave a slow nod. I drew in a deep breath and let it out slowly, as if I were finally releasing everything I had been holding in. "I agree, but before we take this to court, I want to post a response myself. I can't let someone else define me with lies. The public deserves to hear the truth. And I'm going to say it in my own words, with everything I've got." Attorney Reed smiled, the kind of smile that only comes from handling hundreds of cases and knowing exactly when to strike. "All right, I'll help you craft it. The message needs to be clear, direct, and legally sound." I nodded again. For the next 2 hours, we worked side by side. Every word was chosen with care. Every reference was double-checked. A few hours later, I hit post on both my Facebook and LinkedIn accounts. The title was clear and unapologetically bold. What I endured: financial exploitation and defamation by my husband's family. I began by explaining the reality behind my marriage. For 3 years, I had been the sole person listed on the lease. I paid for rent, utilities, gas, and insurance. I created the budget, bought the groceries, cooked the meals, and took care of everyone in the house. Meanwhile, my husband sent his entire salary to his mother every month, under the guise of saving for our future. Then, I presented the evidence. Screenshots from the Mint budgeting app showed I had covered every household expense during our time living together. Every payment was time-stamped, from rent to internet bills. I included redacted bank statements from Mark's account. The account numbers were hidden, but each $8,000 monthly transfer to Barbara's account was clearly visible. No missing months, no exceptions. Next, I posted the receipt for the white Honda Civic Chloe still drives. Alongside it, I added my own credit card statement showing a $35,000 cash withdrawal on the same day the car was purchased. Finally, I uploaded an audio clip. The recording had been edited to protect personal privacy, but the voice was unmistakably Barbara's. Her words were filled with hatred as she insulted my parents in the cruelest terms. I had not wanted to share it, but I knew that if I didn't, my family's dignity would continue to be dragged through the mud. I ended the post with a short statement. Not emotional, not provocative, just firm. I, Sarah Miller, take full legal responsibility for every word and every piece of evidence I have shared. Barbara Miller, can you say the same? And then, I posted it. I used to think social media was nothing more than background noise, a messy place filled with drama where the truth hardly ever survived. But after sharing my story, I understood something. When the truth becomes this undeniable, it doesn't just speak. It tears through every lie that ever tried to hide it. Within just a few hours of posting, the first messages started to arrive. At first, it was a few sympathetic comments beneath the post. Then came dozens, followed by hundreds of shares. People added their own words of support, their anger raw and honest. One comment nearly brought me to tears. "Dear God, I used to judge her. I was wrong. I'm truly sorry. She's the real victim here." A woman named Alina wrote, "I went through something similar with my in-laws, but I never had the courage to speak up. Thank you for speaking out for so many of us." The hashtags began to appear everywhere. "Sarah, you're brave. We're with you." "I stand with Sarah." A verified account, possibly a journalist, shared my post with a brief but powerful caption. If this is true, this woman's in-laws aren't just toxic. Their actions are potentially criminal. I read every word in silence, breathing deeply, tears running down my cheeks. Not because I needed pity, but because finally, someone was listening. On the other side, I heard Barbara's house had been shut tight all week. Chloe had deactivated her social media accounts. Mark had taken an unexplained leave from work. They had quietly removed the defamatory post, but it was too late. The damage had already spread far beyond anything they could erase. One of Mark's old friends sent me a message, just a single line. "I was wrong about you. I'm sorry." I didn't reply, but I remembered it. 1 week later, I walked back into attorney Emily Reed's office. Unlike the first time, when my nerves were still raw, I stepped in with clarity and resolve. Everything I needed to say had already been said. Everything I needed to show had already been shown. Now, it was time for the law to speak. Attorney Reed was seated at her desk. As soon as I walked in, she nodded and motioned for me to take a seat. "Sarah, the court has officially accepted our case. Barbara's side has little ground left to stand on. With the strength of our evidence and the overwhelming public support, the defamation suit will likely move forward quickly." I went quiet for a moment. Then I smiled. It wasn't the smile of victory. It was the smile of someone who had walked through a storm and come out standing. "As for the divorce," Reed continued, her voice steady, with the documentation of financial and emotional abuse, "there is a very strong chance the final ruling will be entirely in your favor." I nodded, unable to hide how moved I was. "Thank you, truly. Thank you for believing me. Thank you for standing by me when it felt like the whole world had turned its back." Attorney Reed returned my smile. There was something unwavering in her eyes. "I didn't stand by you out of kindness. I stood by you because you deserve it." I stood, offered a small bow of gratitude, and stepped out of the office with a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. The sky that day was overcast, but inside, everything felt bright. I knew the road ahead would still be long, but I also knew I had finally stepped out of my shadow, and for the first time in years, I could hold my head high, free of shame, free of fear, and with nothing to apologize for. Early sunlight filtered through the curtains, casting a soft glow on the steaming cup of coffee resting on my desk. I was sitting in a cozy little studio in the heart of the city, the place I had moved into just 2 weeks ago. On the table sat a brand new MacBook Pro, a gift I had given myself after being officially promoted to senior office manager. My salary was still $6,500 a month, but now, every dollar of it belonged to one person, me. My phone rang, pulling me from my thoughts. I tapped the speaker button. "Sarah, want to grab cocktails later?" Jessica's voice came through, full of excitement. "We're heading to that new rooftop bar downtown. It's gorgeous." I laughed, my voice light, just like my mood. "Absolutely. 6 o'clock works. Feels good to go wherever I want, whenever I want, without needing to ask anyone first." I ended the call and walked toward the window. The city stretched wide beneath me, buzzing and alive, just like the rhythm of my new life. Last weekend, I took a spontaneous trip to Mexico. I had dinner at that famous French restaurant I used to only read about. I finally bought the beige Michael Kors bag I had once added to my cart, then quietly deleted. This time, I hit purchase without hesitation. No one questioned me. No one messaged me asking for receipts in a family group chat. No one whispered that the money could have gone toward a down payment on a house. I had never felt this light before. One quiet Saturday afternoon, I was sitting at my usual Starbucks, flipping through the news, when I heard someone call my name. Sarah. "Oh my God, you look amazing." I looked up and saw a familiar face. Amanda, an old colleague who used to work with Mark, was smiling at me. She walked over, gave me a quick hug, then pulled out a chair across from mine. I smiled back. "Thank you. You're looking great too." Amanda stirred her coffee slowly, her eyes scanning me like she almost didn't recognize the woman in front of her. "I'm serious. You look like a completely different person. Confident, sharp, happy. You probably haven't heard, but your ex's family, it's a total disaster now." I took a sip of my latte, my gaze steady. "Oh? Tell me everything." Amanda lowered her voice as if someone nearby might overhear. There was a certain satisfaction in her tone. "Your ex-husband. After everything blew up online, students at the university started a petition. They said someone who's spineless, controlling, and incapable of standing up for his own wife doesn't deserve to teach. The administration couldn't handle the media pressure. They let him go." I set my cup down, my expression calm. Amanda leaned in, her voice changing slightly as she continued. "He ended up moving to California. With his master's degree, he's now working some low-level office job making $3,000 a month. I heard he's renting an old studio apartment in a rough neighborhood. The last time I saw him at a conference, he looked worn out. Sunken eyes, gray hair, like he'd aged 10 years. I let out a quiet sigh. It wasn't regret. Funny, I remember him once saying, "If only things had gone differently." Now he's the one who has to live with that thought. Amanda laughed, then narrowed her eyes like something had just come to her. "And Chloe?" She didn't fare much better. The internet dragged her through the mud. People called her ungrateful and cruel for attacking her own sister-in-law. She's known for having a nasty temper too. Tried applying for jobs, but kept getting rejected. One company nearly hired her until someone looked her up online and found that viral post. They dropped her immediately. I nodded, not surprised. Without her brother to support her, she struggled for months. Eventually, she signed a short-term contract in Japan, working in a factory. Night shifts. Harsh conditions. No one to lean on anymore. I took another sip of coffee, the mild bitterness spreading gently across my tongue. My voice came out soft, almost reflective. Maybe if her brother had married his ex instead of me, both of them would have had an easier life. But now, she has to earn her own way. No one left to latch onto. Amanda didn't say anything more. We sat there a while longer, the breeze from the window cool and steady. I looked down at my coffee, then smiled to myself. It wasn't their suffering that brought me peace. What mattered was knowing the truth had finally come to light. Even if justice had taken its time, it had arrived all the same. That evening, I had just finished a long day at work. My small apartment glowed with soft lighting. Gentle jazz played from a Bluetooth speaker near the bookshelf. I was curled up in my favorite armchair, holding the novel I had left unfinished the weekend before. The phone rang, breaking the calm. On the screen was a name I hadn't seen in a long time. Mrs. Susan, the neighbor who used to live next door to my in-laws. I paused briefly, then answered. "Sarah, this is Susan," she said, her voice low and careful but filled with real concern. "I thought you should know. Your ex-mother-in-law? She's not doing well." I didn't say anything at first. I just held the phone close and listened. She's been alone for weeks now, living in that tiny rental at the end of the street. The same one where you used to sweep leaves every morning? Her son moved out to California. Her daughter disappeared. No calls, no visits. And after what happened online, Everyone around here knows. They whisper. They avoid her. Still, I said nothing. Last week, I saw her at the local grocery store. She was wearing an old coat and slippers. She stood there digging through her purse for loose change to buy vegetables. I overheard the cashiers. One of them said, "That's the mean mother-in-law from the internet." Another laughed, said she bought a Civic for her daughter, and now she's counting pennies for eggs. Susan paused. I could hear her breathing before she continued. She just stood there, frozen. Her face turned red, but she didn't say a word. Just looked down, grabbed her bag, and rushed out. People say her lights stay on late into the night. Some nights, they hear her crying. One neighbor said they saw her mumbling to herself out on the porch, saying, "I should have treated her better." But it's too late now. She's growing old in that house, surrounded by silence and shame. I listened to everything she said. I didn't interrupt. I didn't laugh. I let a few seconds of silence pass once she finished. Then I spoke, calmly and without bitterness. "Thank you for telling me, but those things, they no longer have anything to do with me." I ended the call and gently set my phone on the table. The music in the room was still playing, soft saxophone notes floating through the space. I stood up and walked out to the balcony, looking down at the quiet city glowing under warm streetlights. I took a deep breath. The night breeze was cool and clean. A hint of food from a nearby diner drifted up, mingling with the evening air. There was no anger left in me, no bitterness weighing down my chest. The people who hurt me, who once stepped on my dignity and drained my strength, had finally faced the consequences of their actions. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to plot or fight back. All I had to do was walk away. Life and karma handled the rest. What I want to say is this: if you've ever felt like a stranger in the home you built, if you've ever been treated like your voice didn't matter, remember that no one deserves your forgiveness unless they've shown true remorse. Sometimes the only way to save what's human in someone is to leave. If this story spoke to you, share your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe to Revenge Diary, where we share stories of justice, closure, and the kind of endings that finally let us breathe again. Because justice isn't revenge, it's clarity, it's healing, it's waking up.